Jake Martinez checked his uniform one more time before walking into the main meeting room of the ship Aurora's Dawn. Today was important, very important. The first aliens to visit their ship were coming aboard, and Jake wanted everything to go right. He was just a lieutenant in the Space Navy, but Captain Lisa Brooks had picked him to be part of the welcome team. Jake felt proud, but also nervous. He had read all the books about meeting aliens, but books were different from real life. The Aurora's Dawn was not a big ship, but it was home to 200 humans. They had been traveling through space for 6 months, looking for new planets and new life. Today, they finally found both. The aliens were called Zephyrians. They looked almost like humans, but their skin was pale blue and seemed to shine a little. Their hair was white like snow, and their eyes were silver. They were beautiful in a strange way that made humans stare. Jake stood next to Captain Brooks and the other officers. Chief Science Officer Ryan Clark was taking notes on his tablet. Communications Officer Amy Foster was ready to record everything. Everyone wanted this first meeting to go well. The door opened with a soft sound. 3 Zephyrians walked in. They moved like they were dancing, smooth and quiet. The one in front was clearly their leader. She was tall and thin, with long white hair that moved like it was underwater. Her silver eyes looked around the room, taking in everything. Captain Brooks stepped forward. "Welcome to the Aurora's Dawn. I am Captain Lisa Brooks. We are happy to meet you." The alien leader smiled. When she spoke, her voice sounded like music. "Thank you, Captain Brooks. I am Ambassador Lyra Windweaver. We are pleased to meet humans for the first time." Jake watched as the captain and the ambassador talked about boring things like trade and peace treaties. He tried to pay attention, but his mind kept wandering. The other 2 Zephyrians stood behind their leader, watching everything with those strange silver eyes. After an hour of talking, Ambassador Lyra suggested they take a break. "Perhaps we could meet your crew members individually," she said. "We would like to learn about human culture." Captain Brooks nodded. "Of course. Lieutenant Martinez here can show you around the ship." Jake felt his heart jump. He had not expected to be picked for this job, but he stepped forward and smiled. "It would be my honor, Ambassador." Lyra looked at him with those silver eyes. Jake felt like she was looking right into his soul. "Please, call me Lyra. And may I call you Jake?" "Yes, of course," Jake said. He led her out of the meeting room and into the main corridor of the ship. As they walked, Lyra asked many questions about human life. She wanted to know about their food, their music, their families. Jake found himself talking more than he usually did. There was something about Lyra that made him feel comfortable. They visited the ship's garden, where humans grew vegetables and flowers. Lyra was amazed by the different colors and smells. She touched the petals of a red rose very gently. "Beautiful," she said. "We have flowers on our world, but they are all white or blue. These colors are wonderful." Jake smiled. "Would you like to see our art gallery next?" Lyra nodded. As they walked to the next section, she began telling Jake about Zephyrian culture. Her people lived on a world with 3 moons. They could speak to each other with their minds over short distances. They loved music and poetry more than anything else. "We have a saying," Lyra said as they looked at a painting of Earth. "The heart speaks without words, but the soul needs touch to truly understand." Jake nodded, though he was not sure what she meant. "That sounds very wise." When they finished looking at the art, Lyra turned to Jake. "Your people are fascinating. I would like to perform a traditional greeting with you if you do not mind. It is how my people show respect and friendship. Jake felt honored. I would like that very much. Lyra stepped closer to him. She was almost as tall as Jake, and her silver eyes looked right into his brown ones. Please give me your arm, she said softly. Jake held out his right arm. Lyra placed her left hand on his forearm, just below his elbow. Her skin felt cool and smooth, almost like silk. Then she began to move her fingers. She traced a pattern on his arm, starting with small circles that got bigger. Then she drew lines that connected the circles, making a spiral shape that went up toward his shoulder. Her touch was gentle and light, but Jake could feel a strange tingling where her fingers moved. The pattern took almost a minute to complete. When Lyra finished, she smiled at Jake. There, now you have been properly welcomed by my people. Jake looked down at his arm. He could not see any mark, but he could still feel where her fingers had touched him. Thank you, Lyra. That was nice. What Jake did not know was that Lyra's gentle touch had just changed his life forever. In Zephyrian culture, the spiral pattern she had traced was not just a greeting. It was much more than that. The moment Lyra finished the pattern, every Zephyrian female within 3 star systems suddenly knew that Jake Martinez was no longer available. The spiral pattern was how Zephyrian women claimed their mates, and Jake had just been claimed. But Jake knew none of this. He just smiled and suggested they go see the ship's engine room next. Lyra agreed, but there was something different in her silver eyes now. Something that looked almost like satisfaction. As they walked through the ship, neither of them noticed that Amy Foster was getting strange messages on her communication device. Ships were changing course toward the Auroras. Dawn, lots of ships, and they all seemed very excited about something. The next morning, Jake woke up feeling strange. He could not explain it, but something felt different. He looked at his right arm where Lyra had touched him the day before. There was no mark, but the skin still felt tingly. He got dressed and went to the ship's dining hall for breakfast. As soon as he walked in, everyone stopped talking and stared at him. Jake felt confused. Did he have something on his face? "Morning, Jake," said Tony Garcia, one of the communications specialists. But Tony was grinning like he knew a secret. "Good morning," Jake said slowly. He got his breakfast and sat down with his usual group of friends, but they all kept looking at him with strange expressions. Engineer Rachel Ford leaned across the table. "So, Jake, how was your time with the alien ambassador yesterday?" "It was fine," Jake said. "She was very nice. We talked about human culture, and she showed me a traditional greeting." His friends all looked at each other. Rachel smiled. "A traditional greeting, huh? What kind of greeting?" Jake described how Lyra had traced the spiral pattern on his arm. As he spoke, his friends' eyes got bigger and bigger. When he finished, they all started talking at once. "Jake, you have no idea what you just did," said pilot Maya Chen. "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Before anyone could answer, the ship's communication system came on. Captain Brooks's voice filled the dining hall. "All senior staff report to the bridge immediately. We have a situation." Jake was not senior staff, but Tony Garcia grabbed his arm. "You need to come too, Jake. Trust me on this." They all rushed to the bridge. When they got there, Jake saw Captain Brooks standing in front of a big screen showing space around their ship. But space did not look the same as yesterday. Now there were dozens of ships surrounding the Aurora's dawn. Ships of all shapes and sizes, clearly from different alien races. "What's going on?" Jake asked. Chief Science Officer Ryan Clark turned around. His face was pale. Jake, we need to talk to you about Zephyrian culture. Amy Foster was sitting at her communication station, looking overwhelmed. Captain, we're getting messages from every ship out there. They all want to talk to Lieutenant Martinez. Me? Jake said. Why me? Captain Brooks looked tired. Jake, sit down. We need to explain something to you. Jake sat down in a chair near the captain. Everyone was looking at him like he had grown a second head. Dr. Kate Williams, the ship's expert on alien life, stepped forward. Jake, I spent all night researching Zephyrian customs. That pattern Ambassador Lyra traced on your arm yesterday was not just a greeting. What was it then? Jake asked. It was a mating ritual, Dr. Williams said. In Zephyrian culture, when a female traces that specific spiral pattern on a male, it means she is claiming him as her mate. And because Zephyrians can communicate with their minds, every Zephyrian female in this part of space now knows that you are taken. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. What? But I didn't agree to anything. The Zephyrians don't know that, Captain Brooks said. As far as they're concerned, you accepted Lyra's proposal when you let her complete the pattern. Commander Ben Harper, the ship's second-in-command, walked over to them. It gets worse, Jake. Word has spread to other alien races, and they all have different ideas about what this means. Amy Foster looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm getting a message from a Corvallian warship. They want to challenge Lieutenant Martinez to combat for the right to court their war maidens. Combat? Jake squeaked. There's more, Amy continued. The Zentari Collective is offering to buy genetic samples from Lieutenant Martinez. They think he must have special qualities if a Zephyrian chose him. Dr. Williams shook her head. And the Verdanian plant people are sending us sympathy songs about the loss of potential mates. Apparently they had been hoping to study human reproduction. Jake put his head in his hands. This is a nightmare. Actually, said Tony Garcia, who had been listening to his communication equipment, it might be the best thing that ever happened to humanity. Everyone turned to look at him. Tony grinned. Think about it. We've been trying to make contact with alien races for months. Now we have representatives from 12 different species all wanting to talk to us. Captain Brooks raised an eyebrow. Go on. Well, Tony said, they all want to meet the human who captured a Zephyrian heart. But while they're here, we can talk to them about trade, alliances, cultural exchange. Jake's accidental engagement could open doors for all of humanity. Before anyone could respond, the communication system beeped. Amy Foster pressed a button. Yes? A musical voice filled the bridge. It was Lyra. Aurora's Dawn, this is Ambassador Windweaver. I request permission to come aboard again. I believe there has been some confusion about yesterday's events. Captain, Brooks looked at Jake. What do you want to do? Jake thought for a moment. He was scared and confused, but he was also curious. Lyra had seemed like a good person yesterday. Maybe they could work this out. Let her come aboard, Jake said. But I want Dr. Williams there to help explain human customs. An hour later, Jake found himself back in the main meeting room, facing Lyra across a table. Dr. Williams sat next to him, and Captain Brooks was there too. Lyra looked as beautiful as before, but now Jake noticed something different in her silver eyes. She looked worried. Lieutenant Martinez, Lyra began, I owe you an apology. I should have explained our customs before performing the bonding ritual. Bonding ritual? Jake said. I thought it was just a greeting. Lyra looked down at the table. Among my people, physical touch is very important. When a female traces the spiral of joining on a male, it tells everyone that they are intended for each other. I performed this ritual because I felt a connection with you yesterday. But I didn't know what it meant, Jake said. I know, Lyra said, and that is my fault. In our culture, both people must understand and agree before the ritual is performed. I acted on emotion instead of wisdom. Dr. Williams leaned forward. Is there a way to undo what was done? Lyra shook her head. The mental message has already been sent to all Zephyrians in this region. They believe Lieutenant Martinez is my chosen mate. So what happens now? Captain Brooks asked. Lyra looked directly at Jake. That depends on Lieutenant Martinez. If he wishes, we can perform a ritual of release. This would tell my people that the bonding was a mistake. But what? Jake asked. But it would also be seen as a rejection of me personally, and it would close the door to future relationships between humans and Zephyrians. Jake felt the weight of the decision on his shoulders. His choice would affect not just him, but all of humanity's future with the Zephyrians. Jake stared at Lyra for a long moment. Her silver eyes showed real worry, and he could tell she was sorry for what had happened. But before he could answer, Amy Foster's voice came over the communication system. Captain Brooks, please come to the communication center immediately. We have a big problem. Captain Brooks sighed. We'll continue this conversation later. Jake, think about what Ambassador Windweaver has told you. When they got to the communication center, Jake saw something that made his jaw drop. The main screen showed space around their ship, but now there were not just 12 ships. There were over 50 ships from different alien races, and more were arriving every few minutes. Amy Foster looked stressed. Captain, the story has spread across the entire galactic communication network. News ships from the core worlds are asking for interviews. Tourist ships are coming to see the human who captured an alien heart. And military ships from 6 different species are demanding we hand over Lieutenant Martinez for various reasons. This is getting out of control, Commander Harper said. Tony. Garcia was listening to his communication equipment with headphones on. He pulled them off and turned to the group. Actually, it's getting interesting. Captain, you need to hear some of these messages. He played the first message. A deep, growling voice filled the room. Aurora's Dawn. This is War Chief Grack of the Corvalian Empire. We demand to speak with the human male who has impressed a Zephyrian female. Our war maidens wish to test his strength. The next message was very different. A buzzing, insect-like voice said, Greetings, human vessel. This is Hive Queen Zara of the Zentari Collective. We offer significant payment for genetic material from your impressive male specimen. Dr. Williams looked sick. They want to buy Jake's DNA? The third message was soft and musical. Beautiful humans, this is Singer Moss Bloom of the Verdanian Garden Ships. We compose sad songs for the lost opportunity to study your reproduction methods. But we also sing joy songs for your success in love. Jake felt overwhelmed. How did this spread so fast? Galactic News Networks, Amy explained. Apparently, the first peaceful human-alien relationship is big news. Everyone wants to know about the species that can charm Zephyrians. Captain Brooks rubbed her forehead. This is becoming a circus. We need to regain control of the situation. Actually, said Ryan Clark, maybe we shouldn't try to control it. Maybe we should use it. Everyone looked at the science officer. He continued. Think about what's happening here. Dozens of alien species are coming to us. They want to meet humans. This is the biggest opportunity for diplomacy we've ever had." "Ryan's right," said Tony Garcia. "We could host some kind of cultural exchange event. Let these aliens meet our crew, learn about human culture, and we could learn about theirs." Engineer Rachel Ford, who had just arrived on the bridge, added, "We could turn the Aurora's Dawn into a temporary embassy. Show these aliens what humans are really like." Jake listened to everyone talking about his accidental engagement, like it was a business opportunity. Part of him felt annoyed, but another part felt excited. Maybe something good could come from this mess. "What do you think, Jake?" Captain Brooks asked. "You're at the center of this. How do you feel about becoming humanity's first alien ambassador?" Before Jake could answer, Lyra's voice came over the communication system again. "Aurora's Dawn, I have received permission from my government to make a proposal." "We're listening." "Ambassador," Captain Brooks said, "my people would like to sponsor a grand gathering aboard your ship. We will invite representatives from all interested species to come and learn about human culture. In return, humans can learn about our cultures. It would be the largest peaceful meeting of different species in galactic history." "And Jake?" "Captain," Brooks asked. "Lieutenant Martinez would be the guest of honor along with myself. We would show the galaxy that different species can understand each other, even when there are cultural misunderstandings." Jake thought about it. A few days ago, he was just a lieutenant on a research ship. Now he was accidentally engaged to an alien and about to become famous across the galaxy. It was scary but also exciting. "I'll do it," Jake said. "But I want our whole crew involved. This isn't just about me. It's about showing what humans can do." Captain Brooks smiled. "All right then. Amy, send a message to all the ships out there. Tell them we're hosting a cultural exchange festival. Everyone is welcome." Over the next few hours, the space around Aurora's Dawn became like a small city. Ships from 30 different alien species arrived. Some ships were huge, like floating cities. Others were small and fast. A few looked like they were grown instead of built. The aliens themselves were amazing to see. The Corvallians were big and strong, with thick skin and sharp teeth, but they were also polite and respectful. The Zentari looked like giant insects, but they were very smart and loved to talk about science. The Verdanians were like walking trees, and they smelled like flowers. Jake found himself meeting alien after alien. Each species had different customs, different ways of greeting, different ideas about friendship and relationships. But somehow, Jake managed to connect with all of them. When he met War Chief Grack, the big Corvallian warrior, Jake talked about human military history and strategy. Grack was impressed by stories of human courage in battle. When he met Hive Queen Zara, Jake explained how humans work together in teams, even though they can't read each other's minds like the Zentari. The Queen found this fascinating. When he met singer Mossbloom, Jake shared human music and poetry. The Verdanian was amazed by the emotions in human art. Each conversation taught Jake something new about the aliens, and taught the aliens something new about humans. He began to realize that humans had something special, the ability to understand and connect with anyone, no matter how different they were, but the best part was watching his crewmates do the same thing. Rachel Ford was teaching Corvallian engineers about human technology. Tony Garcia was learning Zentari communication methods. Maya Chen was trading flight techniques with alien pilots. Dr. Williams was in heaven, studying alien biology and sharing human medical knowledge. Even Commander Harper, who was usually serious, was laughing with a group of Verdanian singers. As Jake watched his fellow humans making friends with dozens of alien species, he started to understand something important. This accidental engagement wasn't just about him and Lyra. It was about showing the galaxy what humans could do, and what humans could do, apparently, was make friends with anyone. 3 days into the grand gathering, Jake was starting to understand why humans were becoming so popular with the alien visitors. He watched from the observation deck as Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez explained human military tactics to a group of Corvallian war maidens. The big, tough aliens were hanging on every word. "Your species fights as individuals who choose to work together," War Chief Grack was saying to Sam. "Most species fight as a group mind or follow orders without thinking. But humans think and choose in the middle of battle. This is very impressive." Near the ship's medical bay, Dr. Nancy Kim was showing Hive Queen Zara how human doctors treat patients. The insect-like alien was amazed by something simple. "You care for individuals who cannot contribute to the group?" the Queen asked. "You spend resources on the sick and old?" "Of course," Nancy said. "Every human life has value no matter what they can do for others." "Fascinating," buzzed the Queen. "This emotional attachment to individuals makes your species stronger, not weaker. We did not expect this." In the ship's garden, singer Moss Bloom was listening to technician Alex Brown play guitar. The plant-like aliens' leaves were changing. "Colors with the music." "Your music comes from individual feelings," Moss Bloom said in their soft voice. "Among my people, we sing the feelings of the whole garden. But human music shows the beauty of one person's heart. It makes us feel alone, but not lonely." Jake was learning that humans had something most aliens didn't: the ability to be individuals and still work together. Most alien species were either hive minds that thought as one group, or they were completely individual and had trouble working with others. Humans were different. They could think for themselves and still choose to help each other. But Jake was also learning something else. He was learning about Lyra. Since the grand gathering started, Jake had spent more time with the Zephyrian ambassador. At first, it was because they were supposed to be the guest couple at all the events. But as the days went on, Jake found himself actually enjoying Lyra's company. She was smart and funny. She asked good questions about human culture and shared interesting stories about her own people. When Jake was nervous about meeting a new alien species, Lyra would quietly tell him what to expect. When he said something that might offend someone, she would gently help him fix his mistake. "You are a natural diplomat," Lyra told him as they watched a group of humans and aliens sharing dinner together. "You make others feel comfortable." "I'm just trying to be friendly," Jake said. "That is what makes you special," Lyra replied. "Most species are friendly to their own kind and careful around others. Humans are friendly to everyone until given a reason not to be." Jake was starting to understand that maybe his accidental engagement wasn't such a bad thing after all. But then something happened that changed everything. On the 4th day of the gathering, a new ship arrived. It was bigger than any of the others, and it was clearly military. When Captain Brooks received the communication from the new arrival, her face went pale. "What is it?" Jake asked. "It's the Hegemony," Brooks said. "They're the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy. 3 species that conquered dozens of others." The message from the Hegemony ship was simple and scary. "Aurora's dawn. Prepare to be boarded. We are here to investigate this illegal gathering and to examine the human specimens." Commander Harper immediately called all senior staff to the bridge. Jake found himself included in the meeting again, along with Lyra and several other alien ambassadors. "This is not good," War Chief Grack said. The hegemony does not like it when other species work together. They prefer everyone to stay separate and weak. Hive Queen Zara's compound eyes glittered with worry. They have destroyed species that became too friendly with each other. They see cooperation as a threat. Singer Mossbloom's leaves turned dark blue. They will try to scatter us and forbid future meetings. Captain Brooks looked around the room. What do they want with our crew? It was Lyra who answered. They have heard about human diplomatic abilities. They want to study your people to understand how you connect with so many different species. Study us how? Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Probably take some of your crew for experiments, Grax said bluntly. The hegemony believes that any useful ability should belong to them. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. These hegemony aliens wanted to kidnap his friends and crewmates. That's not going to happen. Jake, Captain Brooks said gently. They have the most powerful military in the galaxy. We're just one small ship. No, we're not, Jake said, looking around at all the alien representatives in the room. We're the center of the largest gathering of species in galactic history, and every species here has seen what humans can do. Lyra's silver eyes lit up with understanding. You want to ask for help. I want to show the hegemony that humans don't stand alone anymore, Jake said. We have friends now. War Chief Grax stood up to his full height, which was nearly 7 feet tall. The Corvallian Empire will not allow the hegemony to harm our new allies. Hive Queen Zara clicked her mandibles. The Zentari Collective agrees. Humans have shown us new ways of thinking. We will protect this knowledge. Singer Mossbloom's leaves turned bright green. The Verdanian Gardens will sing battle songs for our human friends. One by one, every alien representative in the room pledged to help defend the Aurora's Dawn and her crew. Jake felt amazed and proud. 3 days ago, these beings had been complete strangers. Now they were willing to fight for humanity. But there's a problem, Captain Brooks said. If we fight the hegemony, it could start a galactic war. Then we don't fight them, Jake said. We do what humans do best. What's that? Lyra asked. Jake smiled. We talk to them. We show them what we've accomplished here. Maybe we can convince them that cooperation is better than conquest. Ryan Clark shook his head. Jake, the hegemony has been conquering other species for thousands of years. They're not going to change their minds because of one conversation. Maybe not, Jake said. But we have to try. And if talking doesn't work, then at least we'll have all our new friends to help us. Captain Brooks looked around the room at all the alien allies who had gathered to support humanity. All right, Jake, you've gotten us this far with your accidental diplomacy. Let's see if you can handle the real thing. As the hegemony ship approached, Jake felt nervous but determined. He was about to represent not just humanity, but the idea that different species could work together as equals. It was a big responsibility for someone who had started out just trying to be friendly to a pretty alien ambassador. But as he looked at Lyra, who smiled at him with confidence and trust, Jake realized he was ready for the challenge. The hegemony delegation that boarded the Aurora's Dawn was exactly what Jake had expected, scary and intimidating. 3 different species, all looking like they were built for war. The leader was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and black eyes. Behind him stood a massive creature covered in armor, and a third alien that seemed to be made of living metal. Jake stood with Captain Brooks, Lyra, and representatives from each of the other alien species. He tried not to show how nervous he felt. The gray-skinned leader spoke in a cold voice. I am Supreme Commander Vex of the Hegemony Council. This gathering is illegal under Galactic Order 847. All participants will disperse immediately. Under whose authority? Captain Brooks asked. Under the authority of those strong enough to enforce it, Commander Vex replied. Your species is new to galactic society. You do not understand the dangers of uncontrolled cooperation between species. Jake stepped forward. What dangers? Everyone here has been peaceful. We're just learning about each other. Commander Vex looked at Jake like he was studying an interesting bug. You must be the human that has caused all this trouble. Your species' ability to influence others is dangerous. Such power should be controlled. We're not trying to control anyone, Jake said. We're just trying to be friends. The armored alien behind Vex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Friends? Species do not have friends. They have allies of convenience or enemies to be conquered. War Chief Grack stepped forward. That is not true. These humans have shown us something different. The Corvallians were once independent, Commander Vex said. Then you allied with others and became weak. The hegemony had to save you from your own poor choices. Grack's hands clenched into fists. You conquered us. That is not the same as saving us. Hive Queen Zara buzzed angrily. The hegemony speaks of order, but brings only fear. Singer Moss Bloom's leaves turned dark red. They cut down gardens to plant only their own seeds. Jake watched the exchange and realized something important. The aliens who had become part of the hegemony were not happy about it. They had been forced to join, not invited. Commander Vex, Jake said. Can I ask you something? The hegemony leader looked surprised. What? What's your homeworld like? What do your people do for fun? Commander Vex stared at Jake. What kind of question is that? A human question, Jake said. We like to know about the people we meet, not just their military power or their politics. We want to know what makes them happy. Happiness is inefficient, the metal alien said. Order and control create stability. But what's the point of stability if no one enjoys it? Jake asked. For the first time, Commander Vex looked uncertain. The point is survival. The strong protect the weak. But who protects the strong? Lyra asked. Who makes sure they don't become something terrible in their quest for control? Jake saw an opportunity. Commander, would you like to see what we've built here? Not the military stuff or the political stuff. Just what happens when different people choose to work together. I did not come here for a tour, Vex said. I know, Jake said, but you're here now, and you might learn something that could help your people too. Captain Brooks gave Jake a warning look, but he ignored it. He was following his instincts, and his instincts said that these hegemony beings were not evil. They were just scared. Fine, Commander Vex said. Show me this cooperation you are so proud of, but make it quick. Jake led the hegemony delegation through the ship. In the medical bay, they saw Dr. Nancy Kim working with alien healers to develop new treatments that combined human medicine with alien techniques. The metal alien seemed very interested in this. In the engineering section, they watched Rachel, Ford and Corvallian engineers working together to improve both human and alien technology. The armored alien asked several technical questions. In the communications center, they saw Tony Garcia learning to speak with his mind like the Zentari while teaching them human radio techniques. Commander Vex watched this very carefully, but the moment that changed everything happened in the ship's dining hall. Jake had planned to show the hegemony delegation how different species could eat together peacefully. But when they arrived, they found something better. A group of human. Children from the ship's families were playing with young aliens from the visiting ships. A small Corvallian child was teaching human kids a warrior game. Human children were showing Zentari younglings how to play tag. Verdanian saplings were growing flower crowns for everyone. And in the middle of it all, a tiny Zephyrian child was crying. Jake hurried over to see what was wrong. "What happened?" he asked. The Zephyrian child's parent, one of Lyra's assistants, looked embarrassed. "She is homesick. She misses her garden on our ship." Without thinking, Jake knelt down and picked up the crying child. She was small and light, with silver eyes like Lyra's. Jake gently rocked her and began humming a human lullaby his mother used to sing to him. The Zephyrian child stopped crying and looked at Jake with wonder. Then she reached out her tiny hand and traced a small spiral on Jake's cheek, the same pattern Lyra had traced on his arm, but smaller and more innocent. Jake smiled and kissed the child's forehead. "There you go, little one. Everything's okay." When Jake looked up, he saw that Commander Vex was staring at him. The gray-skinned alien's black eyes showed an emotion Jake had never expected to see. Longing. "Your species cares for young that are not their own," Vex said quietly. "Of course," Jake said, still holding the Zephyrian child. "Children are children, no matter where they come from." "Even enemy children?" asked the armored alien. Jake looked at him seriously. "Especially enemy children. They didn't choose to be enemies. They're just kids." Commander Vex was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised everyone. "I have not seen my own children in 15 years. Military duty requires sacrifices." "That's terrible," Jake said. "Family should come first." "In the hegemony, duty comes first. Always." Jake stood up, still holding the Zephyrian child. But what if duty and family could be the same thing? What if protecting people meant bringing them together instead of keeping them apart? Commander Vex looked around the dining hall. Human and alien children were playing together like they had known each other all their lives. Their parents were talking and laughing, sharing stories and food. "This is impossible," Vex said. "Different species cannot coexist peacefully." "But they are," Lyra said gently. "Right here, right now, they are." The hegemony commander watched as a small human girl taught a Corvallian child how to braid hair. He saw a Zentari youngling helping human children solve a puzzle. He watched Verdanian saplings growing fruit for everyone to share. "How?" he asked finally. "By choosing to," Jake said. "Every day, every moment, choosing to be kind instead of cruel, choosing to trust instead of fear, choosing to build instead of destroy." Commander Vex looked at Jake for a long time. Then he looked at his own delegation. The armored alien was watching a Corvallian engineer explain something to a human child. The metal alien was having what looked like a friendly conversation with Dr. Williams. "Perhaps," Vex said slowly, "the hegemony could learn something from this gathering." 3 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Aurora's Dawn, now officially designated as the first human-alien cultural center. Through the main window, he could see dozens of ships from different species, including several hegemony vessels, whose crews were learning about cooperation instead of conquest. Lyra stood beside him, wearing both a Zephyrian marriage bracelet and a human engagement ring. Their wedding was planned for next month, and it would be attended by representatives from over 50 different species. "Do you ever regret it?" Lyra asked. "The way everything changed because of one misunderstood gesture?" Jake took her hand and smiled. "No way. Best mistake I ever made." Captain Brooks approached them with a communication tablet. "Jake, we just received a message from Earth." The government wants to establish a diplomatic corps, and they want you to be the first director. Jake looked at Lyra, who nodded encouragingly. What would that mean? It means traveling the galaxy, meeting new species, preventing conflicts before they start. Basically, doing what you've been doing, but on a bigger scale. Jake thought about it. A few months ago, he had been just a lieutenant on a research ship. Now he was engaged to an alien ambassador and about to become humanity's first galactic diplomat. I'll do it, he said, but only if my team can come with me, and only if Lyra can be my co-director. Deal, Captain Brooks said, as Jake looked out at the ships surrounding them, filled with beings from across the galaxy who had chosen cooperation over conflict. He realized something important. Sometimes the best things in life happen when you least expect them. Sometimes getting rubbed the wrong way turns out to be exactly the right thing, and sometimes being accidentally claimed by an alien ambassador leads to the greatest adventure of your life.